Welcome to IDW Deuce. In this journal entry, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to drive for dollars. Let's get right to it. The first thing that you need to do is identify your market or targeted area. You want to look at areas where buyers are actually buying properties. It doesn't make a bit of difference if you find a property if nobody's in that area is buying. You want to go where the market is actually hot. There are a number of ways you can go about doing this. You can go to something as simple as Zillow. You can go and punch in a zip code and it'll tell you what properties have recently sold. You can filter it to do 6 months to a year. 6 months is usually the best indicator to see how much volume is being moved in that short period of time. That means that it's pretty frequent and it's up to date. You can also use sites like ListSource. ListSource is outstanding because you can do it through the state and it will break it down by county, by zip code, however you want it. It'll formulate a list for you and tell you where the hot areas are, where investors are buying. You can filter out to see how much equities are in the property and things of that nature. You can also search public records. Now, what you want to look for is you want to look for properties that are sold for cash. Most of the time, investors will buy through cash using an LLC or a trust. They're not typically interested in putting it in a mortgage. So you can tell that's usually not an investor buying that property if there's a mortgage on it. If it was sold for cash, then you know more than likely it's an investor. Once you've done that bit of research and you figured out what area you want to go to, the next thing you got to do is obviously go to that area and look for distressed properties. Now, if you don't know what a distressed property is, here's what it is. It's pretty much an ugly house. I know you've heard the saying, you want to look for the ugliest house on the prettiest block. Well, that's true because that ugly house is what normally is driving down the property value of the rest of the houses. If you can get that house up to par, then it will be on equal footing with those other properties in that area and it will sell for a lot more. You want to look for things like trash in the yard, overgrown grass, newspapers all over the place, overflowing mailboxes, damaged windows. You want to look at properties that pretty much don't look like they've been lived in or just not kept up well. You want to either have your phone handy or you want to have a pen and pad because you're going to need it to record the addresses of the properties. You're going to need to record all the details that you see on the property. If you have your phone, you can just simply take a picture. If you're doing the old school route and pen and padding it, then you need to write down as many details as possible. Now, once you scoured that area for all the distressed properties that you could find, now it's time for you to do the real work. You got to do all the research. You're going to be searching through public records. You got to try to identify that owner. Once you identify the owner, you want to be able to figure out stressors, something that's going to make that owner want to sell. Are they behind on their taxes? Do they have a bunch of code enforcement violations taped on their door? Because they may not even know what type of condition this property is in. Last thing, they probably rented it to somebody they thought was taking care of the property and they just haven't been, or it could be a property that was inherited by somebody that just doesn't know that they have the property. Like, you'll be surprised. There are situations like that where people just don't keep up with the property because they don't even know they have it. So this makes the perfect opportunity for you to go ahead, do that research. You find that owner, you tell them the type of condition that the property is in, and they just might say, okay, I just need to get this off my hands. And there you go. There are a number of ways that you can figure out what a person's stressors might be. For instance, if they're behind in taxes, you can find that out by actually going to the tax assessor's website for the county that the property is in, and you punch in the address, and all this stuff is public record, so you'll be able to find it on the tax assessor's website. Also, when you're researching a property, you want to see if you can figure out if there's any type of equity in the property, because it really doesn't make sense if you're going to go after a property that's kind of underwater, meaning that there's more money owed than what the property is worth. So those aren't properties you want to go for. ListSource has a filter where you're able to actually look at properties based off the percentage of equity that is in the property. So the next thing, once you found the owner and you figured out all the stressors that might make this owner want to sell, now it's time for you to market these properties, or market these leads, excuse me. You want to send them a postcard. You want to send them a handwritten letter. Hell, you might even just go up to the actual property, knock on the door, or go talk to the neighbors in the area. You want to try to get in touch with that owner to see if you can negotiate a purchase price, to figure out if you can either, if you're an investor yourself, you're going to buy the property, or you're going to wholesale the property. You want to get it under contract. You want to make sure you know all your numbers. You want to know how much the property is worth based off the market, based off the comps that are in the area, and the market will dictate that, obviously. The condition of the property, if it's in real bad shape, obviously you don't want to try to offer market value. So like I said, you need to do your research. You need to know your numbers before you talk to the owner, because they can throw out whatever number they want. If that's not going to get the deal done, then that's not where you want to be. You want to make sure you come to the owner with a number that makes sense for you and can alleviate them from that property. Now, like I said, you want to send postcards, you want to send handwritten letters. Now, you might be asking yourself, why the hell would I want to send a handwritten letter? Well, you can send a handwritten letter because it makes it more personable to the owner, and it increases the likelihood that they're actually going to respond. So that's a good way to build rapport before you even speak to the owner. Something handwritten. Now, if you got horrible penmanship, then I probably wouldn't recommend this. But if you have the nice penmanship, or you know somebody that does have nice penmanship, go ahead and have them formulate a letter for you, send it out, and see if you can get in touch with that owner. Now, do not stop at just one cycle. If you send out one postcard and it's been like 3-4 weeks and you haven't heard anything, send out another one. I mean, you want to keep doing that, especially if it's in a hot market and you know buyers are buying. If you think you can get that property under contract, or you can get it for a very good deal, then go ahead, do what you got to do. Now, being consistent is always key in whatever business you are in. I recommend you doing it at least 3 to 4 cycles. So that's probably 4 times over the course of 4 or 5 months. And if you are in the downtime and your leads get cold, keep sending them out. Send them out, because you never know. They may not have gotten the first few, but they get that last one and your phone started ringing. There's a deal for you. That would never happen if you never sent out those extra postcards or letters. That's pretty much it in a nutshell as far as driving for dollars. Now, what I've done in the past, I use an app called Deal Machine. It makes things so much simpler. No, I'm not getting paid by Deal Machine. I don't have an affiliate link. I'm just telling you what I've used to get deals in the past while I was driving for dollars. I use Deal Machine. It's an app on my phone. Give it access to my camera. I take a picture of the property. It automatically puts it onto a postcard. Now, they have postcard templates where it'll say whatever it is you need to say, and it'll punch in the address for you. Or you can do your own template and figure out what you want to say to the owner, or that you think is going to increase the likelihood that they're actually going to call you. And you can set it up to send out postcards every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. It's real easy, and it saved me a lot of time and a lot of effort. I've gotten calls back. I've got responses from anywhere from leave me the hell alone to what offer do you have for me? And when they do say that, you have to be ready. When you have an owner that calls you, you have to be ready. That's probably the most important thing that you need to know. You need to have your numbers down to a T. Because if you get a property under contract for the wrong amount, that's going to kill your deal automatically, because no investor is going to want to buy a property that's just way off base. If you can get it at a nice number that a buyer will agree to, where they can make their money and you can make your money, and the owner is satisfied as well, then boom, you got the trifecta. But like I said, that's pretty much in a nutshell. Deal Machine is the app that I use. I use List Source. Even when I'm not driving for dollars and I just want to do a market blast, I'll punch in a zip code or whatever the hot area is. I'll go ahead and formulate a list based off that and just send out postcards. Even if I'm not driving for dollars, that's another way for you to market leads. If you know it's a hot market, just go ahead and send out not an email blast, but send out a postcard blast. You can do that as well. I've had luck with that as well. And there are a number of ways for you to get things done, but driving for dollars and cold calling usually get the highest response rate. So once again, thank you for joining me on this journey. I appreciate everybody that's chimed in. If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend, send it to somebody that could find value in it as well. If there's anything that I missed or anything that you need more details on, please feel free to leave a comment. I welcome all feedback. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next journal entry. Deuces.